Okay, so we just got this beautiful little Cherokee done, and normally we do pictures at the end of it, but we're going to do something different. We're going to do a walk around video. This is going to be a game of how nice is Armando's Jeep. So Armando's the owner of this Jeep. Armando's not a Jeep guy. He's never had a Jeep before, but he wanted a Cherokee. So he bought this Cherokee, done, just like it is. 31s, cutout flares, swing away, 4.5 inch, rough country lift, control arms, bumper, winch, LED headlights, different wheels, which is pretty good shape. So he had some knock issues going on. I'll show you guys the interior while I talk because it's super sweet. So he had a little bit of 4.0 knock issue going on, and it got worse and worse and worse. And because he wasn't a Jeep guy, he was like, man, I really want to make sure that this motor isn't going to blow up, because I want to put some long arms and some lockers and some gears, and I want to do Jeep things. Well, he was really concerned, because he's not a Jeep guy, that he bought a piece of crap. And he knows we do lots of Cherokee things. So he brought it to me. So we found a bunk upper control arm bushing over there. It was bad. We replaced the stock steering with V8 ZJ steering. All of the lift components that somebody put in here before were all completely loose. So the jam nuts were loose, the bolts for the control arms were loose, the bushings were loose, like everything was loose. This tie rod right here in the factory steering, they had like threaded it on 2 threads, put the cotter pin in it, and then the thing was just like wah, 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 just cruising around. And the knock ended up being flex plate bolts, like us forum guys usually know to check on, but these ones were pretty bad. I'll put some pictures up here in a little bit and show you guys what we found. But so we got some shouldered bolts, some bigger ones, and got that thing in place and sunk those down, and it actually held up pretty good. So flex plate was a non-issue. We got that taken care of. Suspension bushings, joints. The oil was leaking really bad in this thing. I'll pull that hood open for me, Keith. So we wanted to put a nice Felpro gasket in it, and as you can see, we did that. Well, we noticed when we took it off that it had a blue gasket in it. It might have been a Felpro already. We thought about reusing it, but it was in pretty bad shape. So then when we got the valve cover off, we noticed that on the bottom of this valve cover there was these little like detents that would normally hold a cork style gasket into this valve cover. Well, when you go to this blue style valve cover gasket, it hits those things and it actually makes the gasket rock in there. So these were completely torqued down, like as tight could be on these things, and it was still just blowing oil like a sieve. So when we got the valve cover off of it, we took those little nubs and we ground them off flush before we put the valve cover back on, and now this valve cover gasket's nice and smashed down. Then once we got that all taken care of, we noticed it was still blowing oil like a some beach. So we took it for a drive, and actually the oil pressure sending unit, the guts of it were spit out the back of it on this side, and it was just blowing oil out of the oil pressure sending unit like a sieve and going down all over the back of the tranny and all over that. So we got it all cleaned up and wiped down and sprayed off, and then replaced that piece, and no more oil leak. He had a fuel smell in here real bad, and originally it had like just a cone filter stuffed on the end of this, and all this stuff was not hooked up. And this line here is actually the charcoal canister, and the charcoal canister will pull from the fuel line overflow that runs back to the overflow tank. It pulls the fuel vapor from that overflow so that you don't smell fuel vapor inside the cabin. And being as this stuff wasn't hooked up, we thought, well, duh, that's probably going to be why we have a fuel smell. So we went ahead and put a factory air box back in it, replaced all the lines, got rid of the catch can and all that kind of hodgepodge stuff that was in here. So now this is all factory again, and all PCV systems all operating the way it should. And that was the other thing we did when we had the valve cover out, is there's these little square ports underneath here that is a baffle to keep oil from just blowing straight up into the line, and those get all plugged up. This one was actually in good shape, but we wanted to clean those out, so we got both of those cleaned out on this one too. Oh, no more oil leak, no more blow by. Well, not no more blow by, but better blow by. No more oil leak down there, and air box, and
Still had gas smell.
we still had gas smell. So we found it getting stronger and stronger and stronger as we went back here. There was a hole in the floor, and this box of goodies right here was kind of sitting about like that, and this one was about like that, and it was chilling there. And so we took all this off, and we found a tiny little hole. It kind of just looked like something like this, and I was like, you know, let me try something. So I stuck a rag on there, and then put a thing on there, and we shook it, and the rag was wet with gas. So we pulled the fuel tank, because I had an extra fuel tank, and when we pulled the fuel tank, it wasn't just a tiny little hole, it was a big hole like this. And we were actually not looking at the floor, we were actually looking at the top of the gas tank and the hole that was in the gas tank. So, and it had 3/4 of a tank of fuel in it, so when we drove it out through the grass, it splishity splashied and made fuel smell. So now it's got a new gas tank, and I patched the floor right here because, as you can see, it kind of needs a whole floor, but that's okay. We got a parts jeep out here. If we need to cut a floor out for it, we'll do that later. But it's got a floor, it's got a gas tank. The interior's nice in this thing. So that was the majority of it. And then we took her back out for a spin. And we had a little bit of clunka still. So we pulled the lower control arms off. We found these lower control arms were kind of just jiggling in the hole a little bit. And you guys know these rough country lifts they're super high quality. Yeah. This one's been on here for a while, and the bolts weren't tight, and so those bushings either need to be replaced. But he's probably going to do some more work on this Jeep. So we're not going to have him change control arms right now because he wants to go play. So all in all, he bought the Jeep for $1,700, and then he brought it to the shop, and he spent another $1,500 with me to fix all this stuff up. So now he's about $3,200 into this Jeep, and it's ready to go. I don't know about you guys, but I could not buy a Jeep like this for $3,200. I don't care how much money you got. Find me a Jeep. It's a 1992. It looks like that on the inside. And runs like that. What do you think, boys? You get a good Jeep? You make the right call? Hope so. Let them know what you think. Appreciate you, Armando. Thanks for bringing it by. Hope you come and join us sometime. Beautiful Jeep, buddy. Beautiful Jeep. Talk at you soon, guys. Have a good end of the week.